It's almost like the lightest strawberry milkshake you've ever seen. If you're wanting to learn about this color right here, then you've come to the right place. I'm James from thepaintpeople.com, and this is Color Code, where we crack the code on color selection. Today's color code of PPG 1125-4, very charming name. It's a special one because it is the reigning 2022 Color of the Year by the company PPG, or in Canada, Dulux Paint. Do me a favor and bop that like button, and let's get into it. So PPG was one of the earlier Color of the Year selections by the major paint companies that exist. Normally companies like Benjamin Moore, Sherwin-Williams, Valspar, Behr make their pick as to what they think the big color of the next year will be, and a lot of people seem to agree that green is the emerging color trend, mainly because of its message of life, rebirth, relaxation, and zen. Looking at Olive Sprig specifically, it's a mid-tone neutral green with an herbal green undertone, figures, and it remains warm but not over the top with a yellow undertone. It's pretty soft and subtle. In terms of how dark the color is, it comes with an LRV of 41, which means it reflects 41% of the light that hits it. Just quickly, the higher the light reflectance value, or LRV, is, the brighter or lighter the color will appear in person. So Olive Sprig is sort of on the lower end of the mid-tone category of colors. And mid-tones, they tend to be more visibly apparent in their coloration than a lighter color or an off-white would. This is good if you want the color to stand out and be a bit of a statement piece in your design, but the flip side is it's not really a great type of color to completely blend into the background. The advantage with Olive Sprig is even though it's quite clearly green, it tends to look like a tone of green that is calmed down a bit with a dusty gray to help neutralize it. And this is great for people that are perhaps coming from a color scheme that uses a lot of neutral gray or beiges or both in grayish, but by going with a slightly soft green like Olive Sprig, it'll help bridge the gap between the colors that you've used before and the more bright, saturated colors you're looking forward to using in the future. Now, although Olive Sprig has enough warmth to keep it feeling buoyant and uplifting, just keep in mind though, it's quite a bit darker than some of those popular off-whites that a lot of people use throughout their entire homes. So that's a general breakdown of the color itself. Why don't we talk about some colors that would go well with Olive Sprig? If you want to know what PPG recommends, you can check out their website for the 2022 Color Trends palette, which gives you a lot of options, but I decided to veer off the beaten path and make some of my own decisions instead. If you're not familiar with the color code format, I'll give you 3 color pairings that I like alongside Olive Sprig, including a lighter color, a medium color, and a darker color. And these can all be corresponding paint colors, as well as accent colors in the forms of pillows, textiles, even flower pots if you really want. I'll also give you a trim color that I think would look great, one that is on the lighter side of things, in case you were needing an off-white as well. Starting with the light color, I already lied to you. We're gonna go with 2 light colors in this video, one that is more passive and the other which is more dynamic and complementary. My passive choice would be another kind of grayed out green color, but this one is quite a bit more pale and has a little more of a yellowish green undertone to it. It's called Rain Cloud. Rain Cloud is quite a bit warmer than you might expect considering its name. In fact, it sort of fits into my beloved greenage category. I love greenage. Its 75 LRV makes it quite a bit lighter than Olive Sprig. So even though they have very similar undertones going on, there will be quite a bit of contrast visually between them. Now, if you wanted something that was maybe punchier with its color hue, something that'll stand out a bit more, I really like potpourri as a paired color. It's almost a silvery pink that leans more towards a straight red undertone rather than a cooler purple leaning one that could feel a bit neon in comparison. It's almost like the lightest strawberry milkshake you've ever seen. And I mean the authentic stuff, not the food coloring laden McDonald's garbage. Although that stuff is pretty tasty. You could also go for a deeper version of potpourri as an accent color, maybe a dark pink or a light red, as some people like to call it. But I could really see potpourri specifically working on walls as well for a very light, delicate look to to complement Olive Sprig. For the mid-tone color, I wanted to go for something that was a bit deeper than Olive Sprig, so it has an LRV of 30, although it still maintains a theme of happy warmth. The color is called Georgian Leather, and it definitely has a slightly rosy orange coloration that is bright, exciting, yet still somehow grounded. It sort of reminds me of what my saddle brown leather iPhone case used to look like before it had its rich brown patina develop. It's never looked the same since. This is a color pairing that will be very dynamic just because of that level of saturation present, but it's great for those of you that are craving some more color. For the dark paired color, I again opted for something a little more complementary rather than taking the safe route and picking a deep brown or a black. Instead, I went for the 17 LRV color called Silverano, which despite its name is more of a fairly deep purple that comes with just a hint of a red undertone in the background. The color sort of reminds me of my wild berry smoothies I used to make that had a lot of blackberries and strawberries. A lot of berry food references in this video so far. In fact, my in-laws, they actually call me Berry Boy after they watched me eat 4 cases of blackberries in one sitting, but that's another story. I really like Silverado on the walls rather than accent form because it creates a really regal, dramatic effect when you envelop a space in it. I like it in places where I like to wind down and relax. My chill areas, or even a living room. Obviously bedroom would be great as well. What about an off-white trim color? So PPG recommends a color called horseradish, which is a pale off-white that is a bit sandy in its coloration. I think it's a pretty solid choice if you want a noticeable warmth on your baseboards, but it may be too subtle if you're going for some of the lighter color pairings I spoke about earlier. If that's the case, maybe go with atrium white instead, because it also has that sandy coloration happening, although it's even lighter than horseradish with an LRV of 85. That puts it in a pretty comfortable range for an off-white paint color, so it'll appear nice and clean and vibrant without feeling institutional or stark. If you want a bit more information on the other colors that were selected by PPG for 2022, you can check them out right over here.